Talk about, this fan base. You were a Bengal fan. Your dad was a Bengal player when they went to the Super Bowl. What's the fan base mentality right now? Is it anything from disbelief to now expecting to close the deal? I mean, tell me what it's like to be a Bengal fan today.
It's everything. It is shock and disbelief. I think a lot of fans can't even process the fact that this team is in the Super Bowl. I mean, we are talking about a fan base easily top 3 in the NFL as far as how much heartbreak they've been through, how many times they've had their souls tortured, whether it was Carson Palmer tearing his ACL in 2005. 10 years later, they come back with a great team in 2015, but Andy Dalton gets injured at the end of the season. The whole team melts down at the end of the game. They lose to the Steelers. It just seemed like if there was one team that could always find a crazy way to lose in the playoffs, it was the Cincinnati Bengals. You go 31 years without winning a game, and even going to that first wildcard game this year, there was that timidness, the expectation that eventually the wheels were going to fall off the wagon, the ride was going to be over, and they were going to lose. And that feeling is gone. It feels like the fan base has taken on the personality of Joe Burrow. Everybody's Joe Cool now. Now you're thinking, you know what? We beat the Raiders. They beat the Titans. They beat the Chiefs. The Bengals can beat anyone. So it is weird to see so much confidence from Bengals fans, but that is what it feels like most of them have right now.
Third time in the Super Bowl for Cincinnati. The first 2 times they went, they played the 49ers in both games. The first one, back in the early 80s, Joe Montana on the other side in both of these games. And the first one was the first cold weather Super Bowl ever played. It was played in Detroit. Then there was 88 that we talk about, the last time there. Close game. The pass to John Taylor to win it. You're there. Little 7-year-old Johnny Breech. What do you remember about that game?
Yeah, here's a fun fact for you, EK, that I was 7 at the time. My parents didn't want to take me to the game. They told me that I had to name every NFL mascot. There were 28 teams at the time to be able to get a ticket. Boom, I aced the test, got my ticket. I specifically remember almost the entire fourth quarter. It is burnt in my memories. I don't have a lot of memories from prior being 7 years old burnt up there. But my dad's field goal with, I think, 3 minutes and 16 seconds left, that put the Bengals up 16-13. He had scored 10 of their 16 points in the game. It felt like, you know what, the Bengals might not just win, a kicker might win MVP. But no, John Taylor sees John Candy. They drive 92 yards down, and Joe Montana hits John Taylor 10 yards out with 34 seconds left. And so here we are, 33 years later, still yet to see a Super Bowl win. But you know what? We could see a kicker win MVP, maybe Evan McPherson, and they're playing an NFC West team. So maybe this is the Bengals' entire franchise history coming full circle.
I'm going to get a bold prediction from you coming up. Maybe that will be it. And you mentioned John Candy, that story famously, if someone doesn't know, after your dad kicked that field goal and the Bengals are ahead, Niners got to come down and score, a lot of pressure, place going nuts, and Joe Montana, to loosen up his offense, walks into the huddle and says, look in the end zone. First try, is that John Candy? And it was. And they all sort of chuckled and then relaxed, came down the field, threw what should have been a game-losing interception, but then dropped, and then Lewis Phillips. All right, so now let's talk about the quarterbacks in this one. You have Matthew Stafford. You have Joe Burrow. If you have to put a check next to one or the other for edge in this game, who gets it and why?
Yeah, I think this is a close call. I will be fine if somebody wants to argue either way, but I am going with Joe Burrow. I think he has been the better quarterback over the past few weeks. Matthew Stafford played pretty well, threw for over 300 yards in the NFC title game, but he's made so many mistakes. If you just look over the past 7 weeks alone, he's thrown 9 interceptions. That's an average of more than an interception a game. We saw it in the NFC Championship where he made one major mistake, was throwing an interception when the Rams were on the verge of scoring a touchdown. He almost threw the game away in the fourth quarter if Jarquiski Tart didn't drop the easiest interception, what would have been the easiest interception of his life. So, and Stafford just keeps making throws like that kind of befuddle you because he plays so well the rest of the game. And he really struggles under pressure, which is something Joe Cool doesn't do. January Joe Burrow, he goes out there. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL all season under pressure, which is good because he's probably going to be facing a lot in this game with the Bengals offensive line, going up against Aaron Donald, going up against Von Miller. But Joe Burrow has been playing mostly mistake-free football, and he has just been clutch in these big games. We can go all the way back to that college football national championship game. You put him in a big game, and he's been unstoppable.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect answer. I think it's exactly right. I think it's really close. But if you told me one of these two guys would make a terrible mistake in the fourth quarter and cost his team, I would guess it would be Stafford more than I guess it would be Burrow. And so I will go edge slightly to Burrow. I agree with you. All right. Who benefits most from a win? You got an ownership in Cincinnati that's never won. You have Burrow. You have Stafford. You don't know if you're going to get back. You have Sean McVay that doesn't want to go to 0-2 in Super Bowls. They didn't even have a touchdown when they played the first time around. Who benefits most with a win?
As much as I would love to say the Bengals, I think the answer here is the Los Angeles Rams, who are playing in Los Angeles. Let's go back 6 years ago. Stan Kroenke ditches St. Louis, decides he's going to build a stadium in LA. Fast forward to this year, he loses a $790 million lawsuit with the NFL. That doesn't look good. All the other owners hated him because he just cost them $790 million. So his huge gamble almost looked foolish, but guess what? He got his $5 billion stadium built. The first Super Bowl in it is being played by his team, and if they win, I think he'll feel vindicated. That's just the ownership. Then you have Sean McVay, who I feel like doesn't get a lot of respect around the league, or not as much as he should, considering how well he has been, how good he's been as a coach in his 5 seasons. They've never had a losing record. They've been in the playoffs in 4 or 5 years. He's done a second Super Bowl in 4 years. If he wins this game, if the Rams win this game, I think McVay is a top 4 coach in the NFL, maybe top 3 behind Belichick and Reed. And then Matthew Stafford, again, you said his name, had never won a playoff game before this year. And the thought was, if we put him in a functional offense, he might be able to do it. This proves that he could. This vindicates him. And I think this puts him on the cusp of the Hall of Fame if the Rams win on Super Bowl Sunday.
All right. Who's going to be the X factor? We know the quarterbacks are important. I know Cooper Kupp's really good. I know Joe Mixon's going to run the football. But I saw Cincinnati down 21-3 bow their neck, and their secondary played great football. I saw guys for the Rams step up and make plays that I didn't necessarily expect. In fact, Odell Beckham had 100 yards receiving, first time in 33 games. Who's your X factor in this one?
Yeah, EK, I think you hit the nail on the head with Odell. I think it is going to be the number 2 receivers. Look, Jamar Chase had one of the best rookie seasons in NFL history. Cooper Kupp had one of the best receiving seasons of any receiver in NFL history. And so I think that both teams' defenses are going to do their best to game plan those guys out and try and take them away and make someone else beat you. And so that leaves you with 2 number 2 receivers who are both very good. Obviously, the Rams have Odell Beckham. As you said, he went over 100 yards for the first time in forever in the NFC Championship. And the Rams needed every single one of those yards. And then you look at what T. Higgins did in the AFC title game. Jamar Chase got mostly shut down. T. Higgins came out and went for over 100 yards. And I won't be surprised if we see something similar play out on Super Bowl Sunday, where either Odell Beckham or T. Higgins has to make a big play after big play because those number 1 guys are being covered up. So I think if T. Higgins has a bigger day than Odell, whoever has the bigger day out of the number 2 guys, I think that team comes away with the win.
All right, time now to get bold. 15-second bold statement, John Breech, about the Super Bowl. I'm hoping it's going to be about how you celebrate if, in fact, Cincinnati wins, but I'll take what I get. What's the bold statement?
Look, you know what? I could say I'll get a tattoo if the Bengals win. Maybe I will. But here's the bold statement. No one thought the Bengals were going to end their 31-year playoff drought this year. They did it in the wild card round. No one thought the Bengals were going to win their first road game in franchise history. They did that in the divisional round against the top seed. No one thought they were going to go into Arrowhead Stadium and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They did that. And now no one thinks they're going to beat the Rams in Los Angeles on Super Bowl Sunday. The bold prediction here is that the Bengals not only pull off the upset, but they win by at least a touchdown.
And he's got that Bengal helmet over his right shoulder. That's right. John Breech was at the Super Bowl cheering for the Bengals, and his dad, who was a Bengal player, last time they were there. Well done, John Breech.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.